Welcome back everyone to this lesson, and here I'm going to be showing you some much more advanced chords that you can play to instantly make your playing much more beautiful and have a much richer quality to it. So I'm actually going to be teaching you 4 new concepts here. More full chords, stroke chords, 7th chords, and extended chords. Now it is likely that you have seen 7th chords already, possibly even extended chords, even though you might not know what they are, because they are very commonly used in chordal based songs that you'd go online to follow. Stroke chords are also common there as well, so this lesson is going to help you play those. The reason I did not teach this earlier is because you need to have an understanding of scales to be able to get this concept. So that's why you are learning scales first. So the first thing is more full chords. This does not really have a technical name to it, it's just a more richer version of an original triad chord. So for example, let's say you're asked to play A minor. You might play it like this, or like that. Now it sounds good, but you want to make it better. So here are your options. So we have an A, C, and an E to play with. Now in our left hand, we're playing 2 A's. We could have our second finger play this E here. That already gives it some more tone. We could take our original right hand chord, and because we're working with either A, C, or E, I have an E over here that I could work with. So I'm going to move my thumb down here and replace the A with my second finger. So now instead of playing, we can now do something like this. Now that has improved it. There's actually loads of other variations you could do here. So instead of this octave with the E, you can actually play the triad plus the A. So you can see you have the triad chord here, and I'm adding the octave A on top. And then in my right hand, I can do an inversion of the A minor chord. So I'm going to do a first inversion, which if I take the original, A goes up there, I swap. So that's the first inversion, and I'm just moving it down here. So altogether, again, that sounds a lot better than just, because that is a very overused method. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just that if you want more interesting sounds, you have options. You can repeat this process with any other chord and move around these notes more as you please. So very simply, it's the normal triad chord. You take those notes and give them to other fingers where you can. Let's say you're making a chord change here and you're doing A minor to F major. You can do A minor, first inversion F major, and then for each of those, do that fuller version. So you just add the octave note on the end, so. There's an example. Now stroke chords. Now when you see stroke chords, you see the main chord, so for example D major, and then stroke F sharp. So what that means is that you take that first chord name, D major, play that in your right hand, and then in your left hand, you play the F sharp. Now, this counts as a D major stroke F sharp, because I'm literally just playing an F sharp. But what's most ideal is that you just play it with the octave. That's going to be the most common way of doing it. Obviously, that is not just for just the D major and F sharp. You can see that with many other chords. But in terms of the formula for how to actually play it, you take the first chord, you play it in your right hand, then you take the second chord, and you just do an octave in your left. So that would be a D major stroke F sharp. Now 7th chords. 7th chords are a bit more complicated, but they sound absolutely amazing. So for example, we're going to take an F major 7th chord. To create an F major 7th chord, we need to first know what the scale is for F major. So it's a major scale. We're going to take TTS, TTTS. So we go to F, count that as 0, and we have T, T, S, T, 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 S. If you want to play the scale, this is one of the very rare ones where instead of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, this applies to a very small minority of scales, which F major is one of them. So basically what you do is that you take the 7th note of that scale and you add that to the triad, or the 1, 3, and 5. So we know that this is 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm taking 1, 3, and 5. Then I'm going to add the 7. So altogether, it sounds very nice, especially when you kind of roll the notes. Instead of just playing it all at once, like that, you can actually roll them, like that. This would be an F major 7 chord. Now, there's actually another type of 7th chord where it's just F7. It doesn't say F major 7 or F minor 7 or anything like that. It just says F7. What you do there is that you take that 7th note and you flatten it. So you go down by 1 semitone, whatever that note is. So that's going to be this E flat. And that counts as an F7 chord. So here's the exercise. I want you to create a D major 7 chord. What you're going to do is figure out what notes are in the D major scale, so TTS, TTTS, unless you already have the scale memorized. Play the 1st, 3rd, and 5th note of the scale to make the chord, then add the 7th note. Pause the video now, play that, and then come back, and I'll show you what it's supposed to sound like. Alright, to make the D major 7, we have the 1, 3, and 5 of the scale, and I'm playing the 7th. Because D major scale goes, so that's the 7th note. Now, if you find a D7 instead of D major 7, you take the 7th note and you flatten it, which means you go down by 1 semitone. That's your D7 chord. I'm going to give you one more so that you can practice how to do this combination. I want you to make a G major 7 chord and then make a G7 chord. And while you're playing these chords, play the octave for G. And then it's going to sound real nice. So come back when you've done that. So hopefully this is what you have for the G major 7 chord, then the G7 chord, and that's that. Now, finally for extended chords. This builds on the idea of 7th chords, of counting numbers from the scale and adding. I'm going to take A minor because it's going to be easier to demonstrate this. That's our A minor scale. Now, we already know that this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees of the scale. But what if we go beyond this? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're counting this as 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So again, this is 8, and then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if you're asked to play an A minor 9, you take your A minor chord, you add the 7, okay, so A minor 7. Then we take the 9th, so this is 8 and then 9. That would be an A minor 9 chord. Sounds very complex. Now what you can actually do here is if you take away the 7th, so you're only left with the triad, and then add this 9, this is an A minor add 9. It's only an A minor 9 when you have the 7th in it. When you take away the 7th, it is literally A minor chord and you're adding the 9th. So it's well named. You're almost never gonna see that level of complexity, but what you will see for sure is the seventh chords, but that's there so that you know how to play these chords if they come up. We're gonna do an exercise so that we can kind of set it in stone here how to make these 9 chords. I would like you to make a D major 9 chord, please. So remember your process step by step, pause the video, and come back when you're ready. So to make the D major 9, we're gonna take our actual triad. Then we're gonna take the 7th note, which is this. I'm gonna move my hands around here so I can play a bit easier. That's our D major 7. Then I'm gonna add the 9. So this is 7, then 8, and then 9. Then this would be a D major 9. If this was gonna be a D major add 9, I remove the 7. With the 7, D major 9. You might have guessed that you can also do, for example, an A9 chord rather than an A major 9 chord. Similarly to how you can have an A major 7 chord, that's different to an A7 chord. So our A major 7, we make our scale, which is, then we take our triad with a 7. That's our A major 7. Now flatten this, you have A7. Now if I add the 9, that's an A9, because there's no major 7th. It's just a normal 7. So that would be A9. Again, that's a very rare chord that you come across. So a quick recap of everything that we did so far. So just to make more full chords, you take the 1, 3, 5, which is your triad. So let's take D major. And I'm just gonna allocate those 3 notes in different places to different fingers, so I can end up with something like, so you can see it's actually just that triad, but kind of thrown all over the place here. Now for stroke chords, if it says A minor / C, you take A minor and then throw a C on the bottom end. That's A minor / C. Now for 7th chords. For major 7th chords, you take the 7th note of the major scale and you add it to the triad. So, obviously right hand or left hand. And if you want a minor 7 chord, you do the exact same thing in the minor scale. So D minor, I take the 7th note, so that is D minor 7. To make the D7 chord, we take our major 7th and we go down a semitone on the last note. That is a D7 chord. Now major 7th chords are actually some of the most beautiful things that you could play on the piano, because they have this really nice harmony to it. You can actually mess around with these major 7th chords, minor 7th chords, and you can make something really, really nice. D major 7, and I said play that with an A major 7. So what I'm going to do here is have a bass line. So you can see here my left hand is actually going to be substituting my thumb on my right hand, because that way I have the fingers to mess around with the 7th. D major 7, I can go into A major 7, and then you can mess around with some melodies, keeping within the notes of the scale. I can go on and on. My point being is that you can actually mess around with these chords rather than just playing it, once, waiting, and then coming to the A major 7. So don't worry about mistakes. We're gonna go through this process more in the improvisation section, but have fun with it. All right, that's everything for this lesson. I hope you found this very helpful. your task is just very simply to mess around with these 7th chords, maybe even 9th chords on some other starting notes. So instead of A major 7, you can even try an F sharp major 7. So F sharp major, F sharp major 7. You can do a lot of things. So have it go with just different combinations and see maybe what kind of chords are your favorite. That's all for today. I'll see you soon.